Welcome to not only the home of British motorsport, but also the birthplace of the Formula One World Championship. It's race day here at Silverstone, a classic on the calendar, and it's time for the British Grand Prix. With good opportunities to overtake at the end of the Wellington and Hangar Straights, there's a lot of potential for close action around the 3.6 miles of Silverstone circuit. With 18 corners and average lap speeds of around 145 miles per hour, it's also one of the longest and quickest circuits on the calendar. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Piastri, Antonelli, Yuki Tsunoda and Sainz, Gasly, Albon, Colapinto and Liam Lawson, Mayer, Bortoletto, Ollie Behrman and Maloney, Ocon, Stroll, Pepe Marti and Amaury Cordial, Crawford, Hadjar, O'Sullivan and Paul Aaron rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And alongside me today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll try anyway. It's Ant Davidson. And the whole world of Formula One can't exist the way we do, walking with smiles on our faces and loving our time together. This new outfit has got a bit of a rivalry going, and I get the feeling a few noses are being put out of joint here.
Well, that's a good thing though, Crofty. You know what? If you're a member of that team, the new 11th team, take it as a backhanded compliment. It means you're doing very well, too well, and the other teams don't like it.
The formation lap gets underway and every driver will be looking to settle in for the race ahead, making sure that their car is ready for the battle once the lights go out. As the cars make their way back to the starting grid to form up and get ready for lights out, let's hope the race ahead today is a thrilling one that will go down as a memorable Grand Prix in the history books.
All right, here we are in Silverstone yet again for Season 3. Konnersport on the front row. Lando Norris leading George Russell. And hello and welcome Rodin Motorsports and Amaury Cordial to the grid after the departure of Lotus, Hawaii F1 team. I believe that's how you say it. I don't quite remember. You see the rest of the cars pulling up to the grid slots. Konnersport on the front row. Piastri, Antonelli, P2, 3, and 4. 5 red lights are off. A little bit slow here on the start as we see Russell losing out on a little bit of grip. Norris pulling ahead. Piastri, Tsunoda, Antonelli, Gasly, Sainz, Albon, Behrman, Lawson for our quick top 10. More positions to change as Antonelli and Tsunoda are coming through turns 4 and 5. Tsunoda coming out ahead on that turn. And we see Maloney P14, Cordial P18. Well, a decent start for Cordial, first race of his season in F1 in a new team. So we get an overhead shot of the Rodin Motorsport car. Looks pretty good. So we go through the rest of this grid. Norris tailing Russell by about 0.3 of a second. Then Piastri back in P3, already over a second falling behind as Konnersport is yet again pulling away from the grid. So we see the rest of the field starting to pretty much gap out after Maloney. And you can see turn 15 and we're already over a second and a half ahead of each other. Antonelli and Tsunoda still going at it out of the Hangar Straight. As we see our Konnersport drivers coming around the final corner to finish out lap 1. And it's going to be a lot more driving to concentrate on here in overcast Silverstone. It's not going to be too much of an eyesore. So we're going to be moving on to lap 6 is when we're going to see the next attempt from Lando Norris. It's going to be 7.5 seconds now between Lando Norris and Piastri in the McLaren, as we see Russell is leading at this point. I believe Russell was leading at this point, as they're coming through the long right-hander. Little bit of contact there between the two. Russell staying ahead of Norris. Norris losing a front wing end plate, and then he's losing it out on pace. You guys can see there coming through the S's as we come to our replay. Here in a moment. There it is. On board with Lando Norris, made the outside of turn 8. Contact again with Russell twice as they're coming through turn 9. And he's just losing pace from there on out. Though, Lando Norris coming into the pits on lap 6 off of those medium tires. So it's going to be a very early pit stop off of those medium tires here for Konnersport's leading championship driver, as Russell looks to close the gap. Side by side, Maloney and Stroll coming through turn 16. Maloney holding on to P13 as we see Norris dropping down the order from the pit lane. We see Maloney up into P12, Cordial up into P17, Norris coming out of the pits. And see what he's going to be on for tires. No, we're not going to be able to see those quite yet, as we see Russell coming through turn 7 and 8. Piastri 8.5 seconds here on lap 7. Tsunoda back in P3. Antonelli signs for our top 5. Moving on to the next lap, lap 7. Bortoletto P9 in the Audi, as he's going to be coming in for his first actual pit stop. So one of a handful of soft tire runners, and he's going to be coming in for his first pit stop for today. See who else. We'll see who else here momentarily. Who else is going to be coming in for their pit stops off of soft tires? Looks like Esteban Ocon, and then Isaac Hadjar. A set of hard tires, so we may potentially be going on to one stop. Set of mediums for Esteban Ocon, and set of hards for Hadjar, I believe. I was looking away right as I saw his car pulling away, but we'll see here hopefully. As Hadjar comes around the corner. No, there's going to be medium tires for Hadjar for a 2-stop race. And Russell, 8.5 seconds still here on lap 8 as he's coming through the S's. And the tire life is pretty much coming down on these medium tires. So that's going to be lap 8 for Oliver Behrman, just behind Russell. Mayer up in the P8, Albon P9. So we're going to see Behrman coming in for his pit stop. See who else may be behind him. Maloney up in the P11, Cordial up in the P15 for pit stops. And that's going to be... who is that behind him? That's going to be the Porsche of Pepe Marty coming in behind him. And then Jack Crawford coming in behind him as well with the Audi. And then O'Sullivan right behind him. So all the back teams coming in at the same time for their pit stops. Not really any issues as of yet for pit crews, as we're looking to see who can be running pretty good so far for this season. And what I've noticed is that Maloney and Cordial still have yet to pit. Maloney P10, Cordial fighting Stroll for P12. And they're still not coming in yet for their pit stops. Audi sitting back, Toyota sitting back, Maserati sitting back. I believe the Porsches are back there as well in the backfield. Yeah, Paul Aaron, P15, Pepe Marty, P22, as Russell still about 8 seconds ahead of Piastri. You could start to see a little bit of time lost there between the two, as Russell's tires are disintegrating slowly. Norris already up in the P14 from their pits, from the other pit stops. As we look to see Lawson versus Mayer coming into turn 16. Norris passing Cordeal at the start of turn 16 as well, farther back in the grid. Quick shot of both Rodin Motorsport drivers as we see Cordeal coming in for, no, that's going to be Paul Aaron coming in. I thought it was Cordeal for a second with the markers. That's going to be Cordeal up in the P14. Maloney still holding on to P10. Pintos about 4/10 behind him. I'm not gonna lie, that Porsche looks really good. I'm gonna miss the red, white, and black Porsche. We're gonna be replacing it with the purple Porsche for next season. Russell, 8.9 seconds. He's managed to find some time against Piastri to increase his gap before his pit stop. He's gonna be coming in at the end of lap 12 for a one-stop race. Piastri 7.4. As you guys could see, like I said a moment ago, the time is coming back on him. About 7.2 seconds now. As we see Norris passing Lawson down the order, up for P8. So Norris up in the P8, running a very good race. You see the pit crews for Konnersport, Mercedes, and McLaren, and then Red Bull there. Sonoda, Sainz, Gasly. No, I think Gasly's out on track. I'm not quite sure. No, it's going to be Antonelli, Gasly, Mayer out on track. Norris, P4. We see Maloney coming in for his stop. It's going to be the Honda for Lance Stroll, I believe. Really good stop for Maloney there. I don't like the shading from the pit gantry. Just doesn't look really good with the overcast weather. Everything is looking good so far. Norris P4. Antonelli, Gasly, Mayer, top three who have yet to pit for their more than likely one stop. We see Russell trying to put pressure on Pintos, who I believe hasn't pit yet. I could be wrong. Russell on the hard tires to the end of this race, coming through turn 9 into Maggots and Beckett's. Gonna be waiting until the hanger straight to make his move. Gonna be the safest bet there. As we see who else is gonna be down the order. Piastri P8, Sainz P9, Sonoda back in P10, Bortoletto P11. As we see Norris is now P3, fighting Calais Mayer.
Well, we've had some great action so far this weekend. And to our surprise, Rodin Motorsport's debut in F1 has been pretty promising so far with their replacement of Lotus, electing to keep Maloney on the grid and signing Amaury Cordeal in place of Nico Hülkenberg, which seems to be a strong push from the team as they elected to have both drivers on a one-stop strategy for today, which they were in P10 and 13 for a moment earlier in the race.
It has been a strong push since they've joined the grid midway through the season, and you can imagine the energy that's going on within the team joining at this time of year when they know they be at a technical disadvantage, yet still pushing to their limits. And we haven't seen many mistakes as of yet today from the pit crew or drivers, including that of Amaury Cordeal being thrown into the mix with the team, as Maloney has already been on the grid since the start of the season, like the rest of the drivers out there.
Well, we definitely could see the team score points by the end of the season with the progression that they've brought to us out on track. And we managed to see about getting on the line with David Dicker, team owner of not only the F2 Rodin team, but now F1. How is it juggling two teams in the Formula Series?
Well, I'd have to say it's a challenge, but luckily the F2 team has been doing great all season, so there's no worry there. As for the F1 Rodin team, we're happy to finally bring this car to life out on track in no place other than Silverstone.
Can you share with us the thought process behind the development and driver lineup needed to get the car to perform how it has so far today?
When we actually were presented with this opportunity, the first thing that came to mind was focusing on how we wanted our car to perform compared to the cars that we would most likely be competing against. out on grid. We didn't want to compare our data to any of the top teams in the worry of making major mistakes and falling behind. So we picked teams that had very similar development data in the previous season, such as Maserati and Porsche, with them being on the grid for a second season now. As for our lineup, I didn't want to see a young driver like Maloney be thrown out of a seat mid-season. And after a long conversation with Nico, we came to an understanding on what the team was going after, since Lotus allowed us to keep the active driver lineup to help us with progression on the season. Therefore, we decided to promote Amaury Cordial from F2 for the opportunity to kickstart the work on our F1 car.
Seems like a very hard decision when Nico was a veteran driver on the grids. How are your hopes feeling for the remainder of the season, seeing both your drivers right there at the verge of being in the top 10 throughout the first part of the race?
Seeing them in those positions felt like we've been here since the start of the season, but that was between pit strategies from other teams, so there's plenty of work to be done. But the team feels hopeful that we can score some points to get us in the mix next season.
Well, we just saw a clean overtake on Paul Aaron from Amaury Cordial in your Roden Motorsport car. Thank you so much. And welcome to the sport of Formula One, David. We will be sure to check in with you again sometime later this season.
I feel like they could really put some development work in during the season and winter break and come back as a strong contender next season.
The midfield is looking to be a tough challenge with the addition of Roden Motorsports, and that's what makes the sport so much more exciting. We did see some more progression on the grid from Audi. We have Ted Kravitz down in the pit lane with John Wheatley.
Thank you, Crofty, and hello, John. We have seen a pretty good start from your drivers today, and it seems like they're in a better position right now, maybe potentially scoring points today from both drivers.
That is the goal for today, as it's a big day for a lot of teams here in Silverstone. But yet that is the hope for us with the upgrades we've brought to the race weekend.
How are your drivers feeling? I know the season hasn't been too great so far. How are they doing?
I mean, they've had their moments, some of the races not being too nice to them, especially with how the midfield has been lately. But they're eager to work their way up the order to get some points on the year for the team. And we as a team have been working with them day by day to ensure they're in the right state of mind when the time comes to get out on track.
Well, it is between Roden Motorsports and Audi as the last teams to score points on the year, and we hope to see some great racing throughout the rest of the season. Where do you feel the team can be at the start of next season?
If the work out on track continues with the support from the pit crew, as well as the departments back at the factory for research and development, I feel confident that the team would be a strong contender in the midfield. We wouldn't be quite there to put up a fight against the top 5.
Well, I thank you for letting me come down here, John. I mean, as we turn around and saw Audi, Porsche and Maserati with their pit stops, which everyone's done quite well. Crofty, I did remember you wanted me to stop by the Toyota pit box, which luckily here in Silverstone is no issue with the pit boxes away from the pit lane, so it's just a quick walk, a few meters, as I make my way over to Toyota. Do you have a moment?
Yes, of course, Ted.
Thank you. I know we mentioned it on broadcast earlier, but we wanted to be sure. How's the team doing so far this season with how the car's been treating them?
The car's been doing okay. We've been able to get as much performance as we could out of it in the early part of the season, but now the focus has turned towards more high-speed aspects of the car, which we have parts in development for in the next few races.
Excuse us for a moment, Ted. Not sure if you saw it on the monitors, but it appears the Mercedes of Carlos Sainz has suffered a mechanical failure. This will be 2 in a row for Sainz, and that will be some very important work to get figured out if this becomes a regular occurrence for the middle part of the season.
Sorry about that, Aya, but I guess that would be a good point to cover next. We've seen a few retirements on the year from your drivers. How's the work doing on the durability side of things?
The team is confident in their work for durability of parts. The issues we have had recently are standalone events, and we have been able to narrow down the causes of those engine failures. So we should be good throughout the remainder of the season, but there's always bound to be something that happens that's out of our control.
That is a lot of information to take in, Ayao, as we lean towards the end of the race. We thank you for your input, as well as Ted for making yet another trip up and down the pit lane to get us time with the team owners and team principals. But what I wanted to bring up is also about retirements. And I've noticed we haven't seen one from Konnersport since, I believe, Baku of last season.
That is right. Konnersport has been on top of their work behind the scenes, and it seems like it paid off since they haven't worked on any upgrades since before Baku of last season. So there's a very large gap between Konnersport and Mercedes, who's second on paper in development.
That is something to really take into consideration. If you were a competitive team, that's up against Konnersport, because with how they have been pulling away from the grid from the start of the race, Konnersport seems to have the advantage outright for the middle section of this season.
It's going to be a challenge for the other teams in the top 5, which makes for an interesting development race.
This could potentially be an issue that will likely be revisited for Konnersport if any of the other teams suspect them of cheating. But for now, such matters will have to be set aside as the focus returns to the ongoing action.
All right, a lot of action going on in these last few laps. Russell back up on top, 12.8 seconds as he's crossing the line for lap 19. Sonoda P2, Piastri P3, Norris as we're on board, transitioning to lap 21. He's going to be looking to make an overtake on Piastri for that final podium spot. We had Sainz retiring during the commentary as we see Norris back on the podium for Konnersport after the earlier incident between him and Russell. That's going to be a talk between themselves and the rest of the team. Later down the order on the same lap, Lance Stroll coming through turn 7 is going to have a spin on his old hard tires, and it's going to be a yellow flag in sector 2. Not enough for a safety car, not enough for a virtual safety car. On board with Bortoletto here in P14. You could see Stroll ahead, but to our surprise, Maloney and Cordial, P11 and P12 for the first race for Roden Motorsports. As we see George Russell, current race leader, coming through turn 9, leading up to Maggots and Beckett's. That's going to be a back-to-back wins for George Russell here on the final lap. No rain, like I was saying. As we're coming down the hangar straight into turn 15. No other cars to be seen in sight. Coming down the hill into turn 16. Can we see the next car behind him? No. It's going to be like 15 seconds or so clear of the next car behind him. So we have George Russell, P1, at home in Silverstone. Now we go to P2. That's going to be Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull. Very strong race for him for P2. And that is going to be Lando Norris for P3 in the Konnersport.
Here's the checkered flag. Here's our winner. By George, he's done it. Russell wins.
And that's 2 wins in a row now. It's the start of potentially something special, but they can't get ahead of themselves just yet. It's a long way to go.
We had drama from start to finish, but in the end, there was only ever one that could take that top spot. By George, he was good today. The top step awaits for George Russell. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
All right, there we have it. A very eventful Silverstone Grand Prix, and it was very eventful. George Russell, Lando Norris, earlier in the race, they had some contact If we go back to the race director, we had some contact early in the race whenever he went in for his pit stop. Lap 6 for our front wing. There on the back half of the lap, Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull pushing his car to second place, battling Oscar Piastri, and then Lando Norris coming up from the back of the grid, potentially on that forced 2-stop. And then to my surprise, both Rodent Motorsports drivers finishing just outside the top 10 for the first Grand Prix of the team on the season with Carlos Sainz DNF. Yeah, so pretty fun race, and I'm looking forward to see what Rodent Motorsports can do for the rest of the season, as they are more than likely going to be staying for season 4. But yeah, our top 10: George Russell, Tsunoda, Norris, Piastri, Gasly, Antonelli, Mayer, Albon, Colapinto, and Liam Lawson. He had a spin earlier. No, I don't know. It was Lance Stroll later in the race that had a spin that secured Zane Maloney and Amaury Cordial's P11, P12 start, as this was Amaury Cordial's first race on the season. So, going into the standings, Lando Norris still leading Kimi Antonelli by 30 points. George Russell close behind at 34 points, with 34 points difference at 109. And the constructor standings, 38 points between Mercedes and Konnersport, as we're going into the European portion. So that means we got a lot of straight line speed, and the other teams are gonna have to catch up. So yeah, and then Rodent Motorsport and Audi Sport still yet to be on the board for constructor standing points. I had a lot of fun for this race, and I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys in the next one.